Yo, Incog, you want to come out here? So this is the first episode of my kind of podcasty type stuff where I have taken Incog's buff shop and I've repurposed it into more so just me talking to my friends about Pokemon they would like to see buffed in the future. If you like this kind of content, stick around. Believe me, it'll keep being here. I'll try to get it out every Sunday, maybe every other Sunday. We'll see how I'm feeling. But in that regard, I am using a new editing software, so hopefully this comes out as good as I can get it to come out. However, if you guys like this video, leave a like, comment, subscribe, and join the channel. We have channel memberships now open, and that would be really dope if you join the channel. Regardless, let's get into the video. This is episode 1 featuring one of my good friends, Olivia Sama. And if you listen to that intro part, you already know who our guest is today. We have Olivia Sama.
Wait, so you were recording?
No. Oh God, no. God
so
damn.
confused.
That was my intro to another intro I'm gonna have before this.
Okay.
But Liv's
I'm so
here.
confused.
Liv, go ahead and introduce yourself to the people who may not know you.
Hey guys, it's Liv here. Welcome. VGC expert here and competitive Pokemon player, friend of the channel.
Yep,
Was-
there we
how
go.
was that? 10 out of 10?
That was great, honestly. So
Perfect.
Liv, I've known Liv far before I would like to admit, because I've been watching Liv for a long time at this point. Good God.
I know, I feel old every time you tell me. Fuck.
Yeah, it's a really odd situation there, but Liv is a good friend of mine. Definitely have participated if you have ever seen the BBL or the Big Booty League, as Tori likes to call it, because we participate in that. You know, we have fat asses. But regardless,
The dumpies.
it is good. You know, I think it's just sticking to Showdown for now on. So. Well, this video will come out, oh God, the first week of March 5th. So you have another week from this point onward to apply if you want to. So I'm pretty sure it ends on the 12th.
The draft starts on that day.
Oh, when do you have applications in before that?
Applications on the day before this will go
Oh,
live.
domestic violence. Oh, okay. Well, regardless of that, you guys know what you're here for. We're talking about Pokemon that we want to improve from generations before Generation 9, obviously. And Liv picked out 3 really good ones. One of them that I had plans for in the first place. And then the other 2, I mean, one of them technically got a buff because it got Calm Mind, but I wouldn't call that a buff. I just call that, hey, nice job. But the other 2 are pretty goddamn bad. But Liv, who do you want to start with first?
I think we should start with, so I will say one of these is a lot shorter of a list than the other. It's a pretty simple one, so I say we start off with that one, Glaceon.
All right, Glaceon, the ice type. The stats will be on
Yes.
screen for you guys to see, obviously. So if you're audio only, for any amount of reasons, if you want to listen to this while you draw, I see you niggas. 65 HP, 60 attack, 110 defense, 130 special attack, 95 speed F, and 65 speed are the stats rounding out at a total of 525. So Liv, Glaceon just got Calm Mind this generation, and Snowscape is really good for it, but in all honesty, what else could Glaceon need to be buffed?
So that's a good question. For one, we do need to look at, when going over Glaceon and other evolutions, the rule that the evolutions follow. They have very specific stats they can even use. There's 2 65s, a 60, a 95, a 110, and a 130. So Glaceon, at best, could maybe reshuffle a stat. I don't actually think that's the solution, though, because Glaceon's bulk, especially with Snowscape, is actually really good. So we can't really change that much. We can't really change the typing because, again, a lot of them, they're all single types. So it's either one or the other, where they're all getting buff type, or none of them getting it. So what options do we actually have? And I think the first place we start is with abilities. Now, I'm sure that anyone with more than a single IQ point can see where I'm going with this. But Glaceon was released in Generation 4 with Leafeon. Now, Leafeon has a really good weather ability called Chlorophyll. So what do we give Glaceon? Fucking Slush Rush. It's been too long. Give it Slush Rush. That's all this mon actually needs, to be completely honest. But it impacts it a lot. And I don't know how you feel about Slush Rush for Glaceon, but I feel like this literally changes the mon entirely.
I feel like getting Slush Rush should definitely be better for Glaceon because it's one of those slower Pokemon that people will draft as like a really nice ice type special attacker that hits really hard, at least from last generation, what I could tell. Now this generation, obviously with Snowscape and being able to Terra, I mean, that definitely matters a lot. But the really bad part about Glaceon is its speed. Like, it can eat hits for days, but it can't outpace anything. And
well, see, that's the thing though. If we compare this to other Slush Rush Pokemon just in existence, there's only one that actually outpaces it, and it's Titan, and it's not by much.
To be fair though, Titan is just fat for what it's worth, and has a lot more coverage, I feel like.
Yes, that is definitely a benefit that Titan has, is the coverage. However, at the same time though, having 100% accurate blizzards off of a special ice type, on top of also the actual longevity through stuff like Wish, I think that Glaceon could have a run for its money there in terms of that really premier Slush Rush spot.
I feel like it could as well. I feel like Slush Rush is a really good buff, and I agree on the point that you made earlier. It doesn't really need much else, and honestly, it already has great bulk, has good enough coverage to make itself work. And in all honesty, yeah, I think speed is the only thing it realistically needs. Or well, Slush Rush, excuse me. Outside of that, really, I definitely agree. It's one of those Pokemon where I've definitely wanted to use it, but I was deterred because it didn't have that ability. But I guess at the time in Gen 4, they weren't really thinking about buffing the Ice type and giving it Slush Rush. So retroactively, I guess like in Generation 10, unless they do some crazy ass update in Gen 9, Slush Rush would be actually a really good ability for this to have. All right, well,
yeah, and that's the thing too, is one other aspect why I think that this would be like a monstrous Slush Rush. Think of it this way. So the buff with Snowscape, right? This is a Phys-Def buff to Glaceon, making it even more Phys-Def bulky. Now, what is the best setup move that Glaceon gets offensively?
Calm Mind or Nasty Plot, I believe. Does it get Nasty Plot?
No, it doesn't get Nasty Plot, but that would be fucking insane.
Yeah.
No, it gets Calm Mind though. But Calm Mind with the Snowscape buff could make this into an actually pretty terrifying mon. You could literally just go along with like Calm Mind, Wish, Freeze Dry, and then like a Terra type to clear through steals, or even just use Chilling Water to drop their attack, and make this thing pretty obnoxious to take out.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that point. I think that this could definitely be a really good buff for Sylveon, Avery. Glaceon to have, excuse me.
Wrong
Sylveon doesn't need anything anyway.
Yeah, Sylveon doesning need anything.
But I definitely agree that Glaceon definitely needs Slush Rush, and I think that it'll be an interesting, it'll be interesting to see, because in all honesty, you take a Pokemon that is probably going to be NU by usage, maybe at this point in time, that'll probably move all the way up to like RU or RUBL at that point in Smogon terms. And in VGC terms, you find a really fast Pokemon that has access to good moves. I mean, it gets Icewind, which is really nice. Baby Doll Eyes can definitely help. And in general, having Chilling Water obviously to drop attacks, but also being able to hit things off the rip with Ice Beam, Blizzard, Freeze Dry, amazing. And I don't think it actually gets Aurora Veil, which is also kind of interesting.
It does get Aurora Veil.
I am looking through.
So at least it used to get Aurora Veil. I don't know if it still does. It doesn't. It was cut. Oh no.
Yeah, it does not get Aurora Veil at all. So hey, another thing you can give it back is Aurora Veil.
Yeah, let's give back Aurora Veil. What the fuck? That's a pointless nerf.
Yeah, I was looking through that earlier and I was like, wow, a Pokemon that's in the hail that definitely benefits from it doesn't get that ability, doesn't get that move. Interesting. So I definitely think outside of Slush Rush, Aurora Veil given back to it, then it becomes a faster Aurora Veil user. And in addition, it just becomes a really threatening Pokemon. And honestly, that's what we want with a lot of these mons. Not to make them too overpowered, but to make them threatening at the very least. Speaking of threatening, the next Pokemon on your list, as far as I could tell, is Toucannon.
Yes, now Toucannon sucks.
Oh yes, Toucannon, immensely.
Huge disappointment. This was such a cool regional bird design. It has a lot going for it on paper, but it can't pull off anything that well because of that 60 base speed. Terrible. Absolutely terrible, horrible, no good, very bad Toucannon. So one of the first things I actually have, so I feel like there's a lot of ways they could go with Toucannon. I think the first way, it's a very simple one. Just give it 90 speed. I don't think it's too far out there. It's not like the regional birds are exactly consistent with their base stat totals, I mean, at least like Staraptor and Toucanon. Well, are they actually?
I don't think
no.
so.
Talonflame is like 14 base higher. Corviknight has 10 base higher than Toucanon. Staraptor's the same base, funny enough. There's more of a trend with these than I thought, but it's not some hard rule. They kind of linger on like some really weird scale of like anywhere between Swellow, it's like 455, and then all the way up to like Talonflame at 499. It's a weird range. There's not really a consistent thing. So I think giving Toucanon like 30 base more speed isn't too out of the question to start with.
I definitely agree. I mean, just making Toucanon faster would be better for me, just because I definitely like it from my own standpoint of a free-for-all Pokemon where it has Skill Link, has bullets, it has everything, but being outpaced by something like a Little Cup Pokemon and getting killed, good Lord have mercy, I've never been more frustrated in my life. On top of which, being able to actually use your ability in Sheer Force instead of getting outpaced and killed, that would be pretty cool to have Sheer Force boosted gunk shots at base 90 speed. I'm just saying, I think Toucanon definitely needs more speed. 90 seems appropriate because when you look at the Mons that are even within that speed range, just in general, I feel like Toucanon definitely wants to be up there, but unfortunately it's down at 60 where a lot of Pokemon are just kind of, I wouldn't say festering, but I would say like you're not using Cherum Toucanon most of the time anyway. You kind of want it to be more offensively and just faster, like Annihilate, Brambleghast, Flamigo from this generation, obviously those three. But then you also have things like Moltres Galarian, Venomoth, Zangoose, Golbat, Arcanine, Hisuian at the very minimum, and even things below 90 like Great Tusk and Bascalba make do with having better speed. Toucanon can't do that, but if it had 90, it could do that. So that's the thing, like certain thresholds for speed definitely matter in the competitive field. But well, did you have any other buffs for Toucanon here?
So that's the thing. So starting off, I actually had one other stat buff that I think could potentially also work for Toucanon. This would look into more so trying to take advantage of the Sheer Force ability that I feel like it's fairly overlooked in Toucanon for skill link, which would be buffing the speed for just 15. Still would be a huge improvement going up to 75 base, but it's not as big of a deal. However, we would take the other 15 and throw that into special attack.
90 special attack. I think that because it gets so many good moves on the specials, like a bird Pokemon that doesn't get Hurricane, first and foremost, Pokemon Company, go ahead and give Toucanon Hurricane if we do this.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is a pretty big. Toucanon just needs Hurricane anyway, if we're gonna be completely honest.
Yeah, and it's Hurricane,
a whole separate can of worms.
Yeah, Hurricane's a good move, and by being boosted by Sheer Force with Flash Cannon, Heat Wave, and the aforementioned Hurricane, you can also just run Boom Burst just because you can, because it's there. But like, I feel like Toucanon definitely needs a bit more coverage to really benefit. Like on the physical side, you only really have Gunk Shot, and honestly, that's less than enough. So it definitely needs more moves to benefit from Sheer Force, but definitely with the at least a tiny bit more speed, but adding the rest of that 15 into special attack would definitely make it more of a threatening Pokemon where, yeah, you can generally assume it'll be physical, but a special Toucanon is not something you want to probably see if it had more special attack, honestly.
Yeah, because with base 90, realistically, between Flash Cannon and Heat Wave, I mean, it's already not terrible coverage. And if you throw on something like Hurricane, you could actually give this thing some pretty decent coverage. You'd probably give it Terra Blast as well, just for some random Terra type, and this thing kind of becomes a monster. Or at least potentially speaking, for like a low tier monster. Let's not get crazy here. Yeah,
it would still be in the same realm of NU and PU, maybe a little bit higher in Smogon terms. And then like Toucanon's not in the current generation, so there's no real way to put it. But even when it was available to be used in VGC, I'm not going to cap, nobody was using it, and I know that because I like Toucanon. But in addition, like if it was faster, then I guess you could use it for Tailwind. But like at the same time, that's really it besides spread damage moves. So it's kind of just like it exists. It wouldn't be a VGC monster. It wouldn't be a singles monster, but at least it would be better overall. I think that's really important.
It would be like usable, like on a low tier, like niche usability, but it would be finally usable in like the most basic sense of the word.
Yeah, because it definitely needs to be more usable in just the most basic sense. Because honestly, we need to help Toucanon, but
yeah,
more on that at 11 though.
I think outside of just the Hurricane buff though, because I know you mentioned that, some other moveset buffs that this thing definitely needs. I think it's weird because I think despite this thing being a normal type, a lot of normals get good coverage, and comparatively, Toucannon just kind of misses on that. Now, the skilling coverage is amazing, don't get me wrong, but you are kind of forced into skilling to get that good coverage, and either I say we maybe commit to it and give it something that's a little bit better than Fury Attack for a normal skilling move, and then maybe just get a couple other weaker options at least, because stuff like knockoffs is good on this. But if we look into just other physical normal types, right? What about something like maybe, I think this thing doesn't get like Body Slam. That would actually be a decent option for Sheer Force too, is Sheer Force Body Slam.
Yeah. And I also feel like, I don't believe I saw it, maybe I'm blind, but Toucannon also just doesn't get Air Slash for some reason. And honestly, that would be pretty good too. It definitely needs a bunch of moves. Air Slash. It needs Air Slash, it needs fucking Hurricane. It could definitely benefit from other moves, like just having the ability to have those two would be good. I think if it comes back,
Final Gambit would be cool.
Final Gambit would be funny because of its HP stat too, honestly.
Yeah, it's a decent HP stat.
I think that if you're gonna keep using it physically, I mean, dual wing beat, if it ever comes back, Toucannon should have it. But
Quick Attack? Toucannon should have it.
Yeah,
why does Toucannon have Quick Attack?
Yeah, that's a really odd. That's definitely we gotta go down there and go talk to him about what they doing over there, because this Pokemon is not good.
I'm gonna be honest. I say we just copy paste every move that Staraptor gets that Toucannon doesn't get. That's the moveset buff thing. Like these aren't even two out there moves. The only one that I can maybe give them would be Close Combat, but I think everything else just makes sense. Like these aren't unrealistic move buffs. They're things that Toucannon should have had. Like, you can't tell me that Toucannon shouldn't have had Quick Attack. Or like, I don't know. I think this thing also, Hurricane's another one that Raptor gets that Toucannon doesn't. Like come on, these are basic things.
Yeah, I definitely think it needs more shit, and it's just like, it's an interesting thing, like, to really look at a Pokemon that just doesn't have anything and you're like, damn, it really needs help. But hey,
Toucannon was failed.
Yeah, Toucannon will give you that hope that you need, because Generation 7 was great in my opinion, but it was not great to Toucannon, to say the least. But
yeah, well, before we move on, I have one more kind of ironic thing. So Toucannon's like this islander bird, right? There's a lot of tropical storms, you'd think that go through there. The bird that's on the on like an island region that would probably get hit by a lot of hurricanes doesn't get hurricane. Obnoxiously ironic.
Yeah, it is really really awful, to say the least. It's just like, I only noticed that because I started looking and I was like, wow, a sheer force Pokemon that doesn't get direct stab to benefit with? That is you are a failure to somebody, and that's me right now. Like, sheer force Sky Attack. Like, sheer force Sky Attack is the best thing it gets for its flying stab, and that's only because it has a 30% chance to flinch, which everybody forgets, especially me, because I only just found that out just right now today as I'm recording this. So that's interesting. But what else is interesting is we have a Pokemon that I don't even know how you're gonna try and fix this, but shout out to Kayla. She came up with the nickname for this back in the day, High Fructose Corn Syrup, aka Sunflora. And I know Liv is just like caught off guard by that, but believe me, the people who have known me for a while, they will know what that means.
Honestly, I've heard more off guard nicknames from you.
This is fair. This is a very fair thing.
Fair.
The Cherum thumbnail still lives in my head, but regardless. So, Sunflora. What are we doing with Sunflora here?
So Sunflora, 425 base stat total, right? We can do a lot with this thing. It is, to put it in perspective, this is mediocre by NFE standards. Sunflora doesn't have some obnoxious ability like a Medicham or anything that has, that 400-ish base stat, where Medicham is at 410, right? This is 425, but Medicham has pure power. What does Sunflora have? Chlorophyll and solar power. Disgusting. Get that shit out of my face. Vile. One of the biggest things that we could do for Sunflora, just buff its HP and Phys Def. We're gonna give these things 30 extra in each. Not too out there. That still keeps it below 500. Fairly realistic. In fact, that gives it Toucannon's base stat total. Toucannon was allowed to exist as a Shitmon. So Sunflora, 105 HP. 85 Phys Def, we'll keep the 85 Spit Def. I think that's a very ideal stat line, to say the least, off of a potential Trick Room Pokemon.
I feel like it's good for Sunflora in general. And the route I went with Sunflora was honestly, and this is one of those mons I was definitely going to include in a solo video by itself with other mons, but Sunflora definitely could use speed. Like, I feel like, and I don't know why they keep doing this, you give Pokemon these speed boosting head ass weather abilities, and some of them don't even get to really benefit all the time. I mean, like, let me give everybody some quick examples, some rapid fire things real quick, right? So first and foremost, you have mons that do not use these abilities very well. Love Disc because it's garbage, which someone else will probably bring up in a different video. Beartic has 50, Armaldo has 45, Caracosta has 32. But they have other abilities that they could use, right? Maybe Battle Armor's really good, Solid Rock's really good on Caracosta, and then Beartic has Slush Rush as well. But it can be used at least, right? 50 is the 50, 32 on Caracosta is not using it. 45 on Armaldo in certain situations. But on Beartic, that is the minimum. So why don't we just buff it to 50? Why don't we just see what would happen? Buff it to 50, give it a little bit more defense, and then see what fucking happens. Because Sunflora as a Trick Room Pokemon is really fun. I've definitely have tried my fair share of Trick Room mons, and this is one of them with solar power. And it's very spammable sometimes, but not all the time. I also think that Sunflora suffers from the I have little coverage syndrome. Sludge Bomb, Earth Power, Dazzling Gleam is good, but and like Terra Blast obviously for everything else in under the sun. No pun intended, unfortunately. But it's just a deadbeat grass type. It's just there. It doesn't do anything.
It's funny you mentioned deadbeat grass type, because what if I told you that Sunflora would no longer just be a grass type?
Oh,
ladies and gentlemen, if we're thinking of Trick Room Pokemon, what is one of the most iconic current Trick Room threats to date?
Oranguru?
Trick Room threats, not Trick Room settings.
Oh, Iron Hand?
Okay, I'm not even gonna try and beat around the bush. Making Sunflora a grass and fire type.
Oh, okay.
We're going to give this thing stabs such as Flamethrower, Heat Wave, and other basic fire moves. You know, this thing, it wouldn't make sense to give Sunflora like Eruption or like Lava Plume or anything. But I think that like Flamethrower and Heat Wave at least would make sense. Maybe Fire Punch just to be funny, because it does have the little petals, but you know, it doesn't need to actually use the move.
I think it needs Weather Ball because it doesn't actually have that, so that would be beneficial as well.
That was another thing I was gonna get into on moveset buffs.
Yeah.
But like realistically, just giving it the Fire Stab, it would help Sunflora significantly. Between the Fire Stab and the Grass Stab, while also having coverage like Sludge Bomb and Dazzling Gleam, you'd actually get a lot of mileage out of this Pokemon. In fact, off of the stabs alone, really one of the only things I could think of offhand would be stuff like Toxapex just being hit like neutrally by grass, which you could Earth Power, or the Gleam for stuff like Roaring Moon and Hydreigon.
I definitely agree that getting a fire typing would be better for Sunflora, but I also think that we have to remove Early Bird in favor of Flashfire. I feel like, or at least something that makes it so that fire moves aren't going to touch it, because Sunflora, even if it changes typings, right, it's still going to be a neutral hit no matter what. But let's go ahead and just assume that it changes types and gains a new ability. Its hidden ability is early, but they made this Pokemon bad from start to finish.
They really did. They committed to it.
Like, they committed to a bit too hard, and now they can't reverse it. And it's like, no, you can. Just take away Early Bird. Why is it there? Who uses that move that's good? Exactly. You can't even think of anything on top of your head. You can pause the video right here, and I'll tell you all the Early Bird users right now, because you know what the crazy part is? I actually hate that ability. Dodrio, Houndoom, Kangaskhan, Ledian, Shiftry, Sunflora, and the Xatu families, Girafarig, and then that's it. Nothing uses that ability. Everything else has a better ability after that. Oh, Dodrio has Tangle Feet, realistically. It could have Early Bird if you want it to, but Tangle Feet's better because things can get confused from Hurricane and stuff like that. Flashfire, Houndoom, Scrappy. You get what I'm saying, though.
Yeah.
Sunflora definitely needs Flashfire, or needs some sort of way to avoid at least something that'll take neutral, and at least Flashfire will buff its fire attack, so it's really good. And in taking away that, it loses some weaknesses as well, which I really like. But you had something to say.
Yes, so I actually have a couple ideas for this ability. Funny enough, completely unrelated for Flashfire.
Okay.
For one, there's the obvious Prankster, you know, giving this thing Prankster Leech Seed, or maybe like Prankster Sunny Day. You could even maybe go for a Prankster setup move if we were to go down the route of giving this thing viable setup. A lot of options there, but we have some good potential options for that. Flashfire is another great one, and I think it fits thematically too. If we're making this a fire type, you know, it's a flower that like overcame being like burned alive, and then now it's taking advantage of the fire to like fight back or something. We can make it work. We can make it work. However, I feel like that the route that we could go with is what if we just ignore fire at all, and instead we give this actually the ability of another flower Pokemon, and I'm talking about giving this thing Flower Gift.
Okay, but
so Sunflora is not broken base stat total. We could make its physical attack actually kind of useful with this too, funny enough. And it would get a huge SPDF boost, which would help it taking on potential fire hits better, because most are special.
I feel like we need to make Flower Gift just boosting special attack and SPDF at this point. Enough time has passed. Cherum is a great...
That's a whole different can of worms.
It is, but I think
we wouldn't even need to with this. Like, so 105 special attack with the bulk that Flower Gift would provide with those other stat buffs and the secondary stab. Just throwing a life orb, that might be enough, especially with Terra.
Yeah, that is true. I do agree. I just think that Flower Gift is such a fucking odd damn ability. Like, yes, does Cherum kind of benefit going from like lower stat to like 90 attack, I'm pretty sure, in Sunshine form? Sure.
Give or take.
But I believe that it should have something better than this, because it's just like, it's so odd to me that they buff attack and SPDF when you could have just easily said, oh, special attack and special defense, that would be better. That would just be a Calm Mind boost. But now it's just like, what is this?
Yeah,
what
exactly.
Are we doing?
Now, for what it's worth, I don't actually even know if we need to go the better ability route. I think we should. The early bird fucking sucks. But Solar Power and Chlorophyll, even if whether we went with the speed or the bulk route, would both be a fairly usable ability on Sunflora. In fact, if we did the speed route, both abilities would be usable. But Sunflora would, with that fire typing, generally boosting the stats, giving it stabs and fire, would actually become kind of a terrifying Pokemon. While I won't act like Scovillain's exactly, you know, the bee's knees or anything, 30 base speed fire grass type would actually be insane on Trick Room. This would be a Pokemon that would not be able to fear redirection from a Mungus while also pressuring Terra Water sets, which are one of the better options as far as countering Torkoal and Trick Room. You would also have coverage for Armorage. You would have coverage for stuff like Roaring Moon, which Torkoal also lacks without Terra, funny enough. You could really make this thing into an actual monster. Hell, it's already, weirdly enough, a niche VGC pick. I don't know how it is, but it's like usable. Disgustingly enough. This mon's sick. It's a vile Pokemon.
It's a disgusting ass Pokemon, and I've definitely almost lost to it, given that if I hadn't gotten Icy Winded 2 times already, like, and then Sun didn't just perfectly run out, I literally lost to Sunflora. It was like, it was so bad. It was just like, dude, this Pokemon is actually kind of scary in the right scenarios. And even in the wrong scenarios, like if you don't kill certain Mons, and I see this all the time with some VGC people, you know, little VGC rant cap. Just because you see a support Pokemon, if it's doing something that hurts you or can hurt you, you should probably kill it. Because in all honesty, you're going to make the rest of your team suffer for not killing it. I saw people ignore Garganacl for long enough time to understand that I could watch a game, for example, and Annihilate will bulk up 2 times, and then they're wondering why they lost. How did you manage that, actually? Or the Maushold Annihilate thing. We have gone enough time to know. We know how this goes. We know what's about to happen. But
I will say as well, for that ability thing, speaking of stuff that we have had enough time to pass, Dryskin might also be a good thematic ability on this Pokemon.
Dryskin might be really great.
Now that would hurt in the sun, but just in general thinking, or we could just go with Water Absorb, to be honest. I mean, it is a plant that wouldn't be too out there, thinking that, you know, it's absorbing water.
Yeah.
But the point being is that, you know, giving the now neutral to water type immunity to stuff like Dondozo's Wave Crash would be kind of fucking sick, because its stabs would hit every common Dondozo Terra type.
Yeah, it would. And I think that Sunflora and the inevitable change of the generation, and I always, and I said this before, I've said it several times to people, if you're gonna make this a signature Pokemon of somebody, why the fuck didn't Sunflora get, not a signature Pokemon, excuse me, a Pokemon that we have to interact with in the game, mind you? Why didn't it get a fucking ability? Why didn't it get like a change? Maybe instead of Sudowoodo, right? Brashius should have came out there with a new fucking Sunflora fucking form, and then it tears into grass. That would have been fucking sick. But unfortunately, he's an early gym leader, so it probably wouldn't have done that much. But it still would have been cool. But I feel like Sunflora definitely needs the most help out of these three Mons. Though, objectively, Toucannon is the Pokemon that is the most disappointing out of these three.
I agree. I think Toucannon's the most disappointing just because of the group of Pokemon it is.
Yeah. But with that, that'll do it for today, actually. You can check out all of Liv's links down below and anything I've mentioned in the video. In addition to such, this video is going up after I've already put out channel memberships as a video, so you can go ahead and join my channel if you'd like. Basically, you get access to early content, early things like thumbnails and such, and at higher tiers, there's definitely other things you want to go ahead and explore. But thank you to Liv, who also has channel memberships open. You should definitely go ahead and subscribe to her and perhaps join her channel, for joining me today. Go ahead and outro yourself if you like.
I don't sub to Incog.
That's the gay panic I was waiting for. So thank you guys for watching the video today, and I'll talk to you guys next time when I invite somebody else on. Liv kind of determined she was the first guest, and I was like, yeah, I could see that.
Hell yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.